You're all very, very welcome. Also, before we start tonight's session, I'm going to launch a poll. We do a poll at the start and we do a poll at the end, and it's to see what difference tonight's session will help in your understanding around lifestyle and glaucoma. So it's only one question, but for anybody who's using a screen reader, you'll hear a bong and it'll come on the screen, and then you need to press submit to submit your response. Okay, so I'm going to launch the poll now. It's just one question. Please, I really appreciate if people would take the time to answer that one question. Thank you. We're doing really well. Just a little more to go. Okay, I'm going to end it now. Let's see. Sorry, it's still coming. I don't want to cut it short too soon. Okay, I'm going to end because I'm conscious of our time. So let's get started. So let me just start our presentation and do some introductions. I always forget when I'm doing this to introduce myself. So today I made a mental note to make sure I introduce myself and our guest speaker. So my name is Helen McFitty O'Hara, and I am the Training and Engagements Officer for Glaucoma UK, and I cover the region of Northern Ireland. We're delighted to have Dr. Brian Ang, who is a consultant ophthalmologist who's with us tonight all the way from Melbourne. So really, he's up very early in the morning. So we're so, so grateful for him getting out of his bed very early to help us with this very important subject. And you can see by the amount of people we have tonight, it is a very popular subject in that way. But before we get started with Brian's presentation, I want to kind of read this disclaimer. So we are enormously grateful to Brian for giving us time to present on this webinar. We invite speakers who are knowledgeable on the topic being presented. The information shared tonight is based on their own experience and knowledge and does not replace individual medical advice. Your circumstances are unique to you, so if you're thinking of making any lifestyle or medical changes as a result of this webinar, please speak to your eye specialist first. Glaucoma UK and the speaker are not responsible for any actions you might take as a result of the information you learn through this webinar. You'll be delighted to hear Brian has graciously offered to integrate answers to the unanswered questions from the August DGSG. So back in August, we had an open Q&A where there were loads of questions about lifestyle. So Brian has integrated them into tonight's session. So the format of tonight's session is, so Brian's going to present. Then for the last 20-25 minutes, if we need longer, Brian has graciously said he will stay on to answer any questions you have. So please, as Brian presents, put in your questions into the Q&A, and anybody who is on the different platforms, if you share your question, and my colleague Lisa will put them through to Brian so we can answer them when the time comes. So yes, I'd like to thank Brian for taking the time to be with us tonight. So I'm going to hand over to Brian now to teach us all about lifestyle and glaucoma. Okay, Brian, thank you.
Okay. Uh, right. Is the screen sharing done correctly?
It's perfect, Brian. Yes, well done. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Right. Good evening, everyone. And thank you for the introduction, Helen. I'm actually quite excited to be doing this because this is my first time presenting to a UK audience. And for those who may not be aware, I actually spent over 10 years living and working in the UK. I spent time in Belfast, Edinburgh, Llantrisant near Cardiff, Norwich, then Aberdeen and Inverness. So I've been around, and the UK holds a lot of really fond memories for me. And so it really holds a special place in my heart. So today I'm going to talk about glaucoma and lifestyle and why there's a missing gap in glaucoma care. Now, if you are attending this webinar, you will know that glaucoma is caused by high eye pressure, High eye pressure is the main risk factor for glaucoma. But did you know that glaucoma can still occur even when the eye pressure is normal? Yes, the research shows that around 30% of people with open-angle glaucoma can still develop glaucoma, have glaucoma damage, even though their eye pressures are normal. And in certain population, in certain Asian ethnicities, this increases to an astonishing 92%. So picture this scenario. You're doing everything right. You're putting in your eye drops as instructed. You're keeping your eye pressures under control. And yet, you might still be losing vision from glaucoma. This is very personal to me because this is exactly what happened to my father. Dad's 79 this year, and he's a retired GP in a pretty small town in Malaysia. Actually, it's so small. I used to joke with my British friends that it's so small that it doesn't have any traffic lights, it doesn't have any roundabouts. And the only time you get a traffic jam is when the cows were crossing the road. Now, obviously, a lot has changed since then. Now you get traffic jam because people are queuing up to buy bubble tea. So back to that, he's always had great vision. Never needed to wear prescription distance glasses. Eye pressures have always been normal. Never had any eye problems until he lost half of his vision from glaucoma. And that's despite having normal eye pressures. So this really hit me hard. And as a concerned son who happens to also be a glaucoma specialist, I made sure that he was put on the best eye drops. I made sure he followed his instructions, the instructions given by his eye specialist, down to a T. And I even flew him over from Malaysia to Melbourne so that I could do SLT laser on him. But despite being able to reduce his eye pressure, control it, I still felt like there was something really, really important that's missing in his care. And so that's when I delved deep into the research of what more we can do for glaucoma beyond only reducing eye pressure. And that's when I realized that glaucoma isn't really about eye pressure on its own. It's actually about the health of the optic nerve. So the optic nerve is the structure that connects the eye to the brain. And what that does is to deliver information in real time between the eye and the brain. So think of it as the light speed HDMI cable that connects the ultra high definition camera, which is your eye, to the superprocessor computer, which is your brain. So if you want to see, if you want vision, then all three components need to work well. And in particular, your optic nerve needs to be able to transmit information seamlessly and easily. The trouble is that this role that the optic nerve plays requires very, very high metabolism. So the metabolic demands placed on it is extremely high. And that makes the optic nerves highly vulnerable and highly susceptible to damage, not only from pressure, but also from daily stress and physical aging. And this is why you can still get glaucoma damage even when eye pressure is low or normal. Now, what if I told you that there are things that you might be doing on a daily basis that instead of helping your optic nerve, you could potentially be harming your optic nerve instead, without you even realizing it? I call these blind spot habits, and I'm going to share 5 blind spot habits today. So the first blind spot habit is spending too much time in front of screens. Now, everybody's really concerned about too much screen time, and rightly so. But that's usually in the context of potential damage to the retina from radiation, or digital eye strain, or myopia in children. Now, at this point, I want to say there's no direct link between screen time and eye pressure or glaucoma. Okay? But if you're spending a lot of time in front of screens, it means you're not being physically active. It means you're not exercising. And let's face it, it's a lot easier, more appealing when you come home after a long day to just kick off your shoes, bring out the snacks, sit in your comfy chair, turn on the telly, and watch impressive physical specimens running around trying to score points with a ball of some description, or just watching these athletes trying to beat each other up. Well, the point of this is that when you're not exercising, when you're not physically active, you're not supporting the circulation to your vision system. You're not helping to deliver oxygen and nutrients to help your optic nerve keep up with its metabolic demands. And this has the potential to increase glaucoma risk by 2.4 times. So the solution to this is to schedule in daily exercise. And I don't mean going to the gym every day for 2 hours to pump iron, even doing moderate to brisk walking for half an hour every day. That's going to make a big difference over the long term. And the studies have shown that people who are able to do more and more regular, moderate to brisk physical activity, specifically aerobic exercise, they have potentially 58% less risk of glaucoma. There have been some questions about eye pressure and exercise, and I would say that any changes in pressure during exercise tends to be transient. So please just go ahead and do the exercise as long as you don't overdo it. A couple of points though. The first is that head down postures that definitely increases eye pressure, so try to avoid it. And second is that if you're doing strength training and you're going to exert yourself, just make sure you exhale as you exert, as you push, and don't hold your breath in. I think those are the two main things. So this makes physical activity the first key pillar of proactive glaucoma care. The second blind spot is letting frustration build. And by that, I mean not managing stress. Well, we all know that glaucoma is stressful enough as it is. But when you're stressed, it can potentially make it worse. Personally, I feel that stress is a very important but highly underrated or under-recognized risk factor for glaucoma. Because when you are stressed, the circulating stress hormones in your body build up. And one of these stress hormones happen to be cortisol. And cortisol is a steroid hormone, and we all know that steroids can increase eye pressure. And researchers last year found that this is indeed true, that stress can potentially increase eye pressure by over 4 millimeters mercury. And this can be highly significant for some. Earlier this year, another group of researchers investigated the link between stress and glaucoma risk. And in a 10-point stress score, they found that for every increase in stress point, there was an 11% increase in glaucoma risk. Again, that's highly significant and shows the importance of stress and glaucoma. Now, obviously, I can't tell you to live a life of no stress, right? I mean, come on. Even the Dalai Lama gets stressed. So the key thing here is to make sure that you manage stress. And the best ways of reducing stress actually are meditation and deep breathing or 365 breathing. So in this technique, you take 5 seconds to inhale and 5 seconds to exhale. And you do that for a couple of minutes, 3 times a day. And the studies show that doing this can help to reduce your blood pressure, reduce your circulating stress hormones, and more importantly, it can also reduce eye pressure by around 12.5%. Personally, I find that deep breathing helps to relax me, helps to calm me down, helps to reduce my anxiety, especially when I'm stuck in traffic and I'm late for a really important meeting. Or I'm rushing to childcare to try and pick the kids up on time before they start charging me an arm and a leg for every single minute that I'm late. So this makes stress management the second key pillar of proactive glaucoma care. The thing about stress, though, is it doesn't just occur in isolation. It occurs, or it tends to bleed into other aspects of your life. And so, now, obviously, I can't ask for a show of hands, but what I will ask is this. How many of you know of someone who's sleeping late or staying up late because of work? Or how many of you know of someone who's staying up late because Netflix just dropped a brand new season and you just have to watch that next episode? You just have to finish that next episode. Well, whether it is from work-related stress or digital distractions or just poor sleeping habits, staying up late has become the norm for many. And the problem with that is it just means that your eyes don't get a break because sleep isn't just about rest, it's also about repair and recovery. And when you sleep, your body is able to regulate cortisol, it's able to remove any metabolic excess, metabolic waste, and it's also able to restore circulation. So when you're skimping on sleep, it also means that you're missing out on this nightly reset. Researchers have found that if you sleep for 3 hours or less every night, then there's a potentially 3 times increase in glaucoma-related visual field loss. Interestingly, if you sleep for over 10 hours, you're also at increased risk of field loss. So the sweet spot here is to sleep around 7 to 8 hours every night. I think there are also some questions about sleeping position. And yes, if you're able to have your head up a little bit higher than your heart, then that means that your eye pressure won't be as high when you're sleeping. But honestly speaking, I personally feel that what's more important is to have really good deep sleep. And if you can have good deep sleep, that's when your body repair processes can occur. The, if you have really bad glaucoma on one eye, then try not to be sleeping on that side all the time. Try and make sure you alternate. Um, if for some reason you feel really comfortable sitting upright, not upright, but at an inclination of about 20 to 30 degrees, then yes, by all means, go ahead and do that. But for me, what's more important is to make sure you get the sleep, because if you are using medications or if an SLT treatment to control your eye pressure, then you let that do their work, but you focus on getting the important sleep that your eyes need. So The next time you're tempted to hit the play next episode button or to hit the next stack of work that you brought home, maybe your optic nerve might prefer if you hit the pillow instead. And this is why sleep is the third key pillar of proactive glaucoma care. The fourth blind spot is something that we are all very aware of. And it's become a little bit of something of a modern day epidemic. And yes, I'm talking about sugar. Too much sugar is actually not really good for your eyes. And here's why. When you eat too much sugar in your diet, that increases systemic inflammation. It also increases insulin resistance. And this has the effect of reducing blood flow, has the effect of affecting cell metabolism. And it's not just sweets, candy, or sweet desserts. It's also the hidden sugars that you get in ultra-processed foods, in sauces, in healthy snacks. All these will add up pretty rapidly because over time, if there's too much sugar in a diet, this creates a metabolic environment excuse me, that's pretty hostile to your eye health, hostile to your optic nerve. And over time, this can potentially increase glaucoma risk by 51%. So if you're fond of snacking, why not snack on fruits and vegetables instead? Snack on an apple, on carrots, on a celery stick. Now, granted, a pale light green celery stick does not sound anywhere as appealing as a sweet, salted caramel macaron that's drizzled in premium toffee infused chocolate sauce, the pinnacle of dessert luxury that's so ultra processed that you probably spike your blood sugar just by looking at it. The point here is that when you eat a healthy diet that's full of fruits and vegetables and foods that your grandmother would recognize, like eggs and fish, then you potentially have 79% less risk of developing glaucoma compared to someone who doesn't. And so this is why nutrition takes its place as the fourth key pillar of proactive glaucoma care. It's about what you eat and what you don't eat that's equally important. And this leads on nicely to the fifth blind spot. Again, I'm not going to ask for a show of hands, but how many of you know of someone who's taking a vitamin or a supplement of some sort for their glaucoma? This is surprisingly common, and this trend is only going to increase because more and more people are realizing the importance of looking after their eyes, looking after their vision, just as they would their hair, their skin, their heart, their gut, their joints. And they turn to supplements to try and fill in any gaps that might be missing from their usual diet or from their usual care. But if you want to be taking vitamins for your glaucoma, you gotta make sure you're not taking the wrong ones. And you also want to make sure you're not taking the wrong dose. Well, don't take too much. A good example is vitamin B3. Ever since research has been published about the potential benefits of vitamin B3 in increasing the resilience of the optic nerve cells against eye pressure, it sort of exploded in popularity. But many people are not aware that there are a few types of vitamin B3. Niacin is actually the most common type. But what you really need to be taking is the nicotinamide form of vitamin B3, because that's the one that's been studied and that's the one that's more bioavailable to your retinal ganglion cells. So, yes, if you're going to take vitamin B3 for glaucoma, make sure you're taking nicotinamide and not niacin. Another example is taking turmeric instead of saffron, thinking that they have the same benefits. They don't. Just because both are bright yellow-orange in color and are used in curries, it doesn't mean that they're absorbed the same way and they have the same benefits for glaucoma. They don't. Saffron is the one that you want to be taking because that's the one that's most beneficial for your eyes. So I get this question a lot. Many of my patients ask me this, Brian, so what are the vitamins and supplements that I should be taking? And the answer to that is not that straightforward, because you don't just want a generic multivitamin or like a fish oil. What you really want is to target the underlying cellular and circulatory risks of glaucoma, these risks that drive glaucoma damage. And this needs a little bit of thought. And that's why I spent over 2 years researching and developing the NP10 system. So this is an evidence-based framework that identifies and addresses the 10 key biocellular risks and mechanisms that help to drive glaucoma damage, that help to increase glaucoma risk. And to simplify things and to make things easier to understand, I've grouped these 10 into 4 core areas of optic nerve neuroprotection. So the first core area is to reduce pressure and stress of the eye and of the mind. And here, saffron really excels. It has been used in hundreds of years in traditional Ayurvedic and Persian traditional medicine for mental health, mental well-being, and general health. And the recent studies have now confirmed that it can help to reduce stress and improve calmness by nearly 50%. But more importantly, saffron has been shown in clinical studies to potentially be able to reduce eye pressure by around 15.5%. The second core area is cellular. And by that, I mean to help support cellular energy, cell repair, and antioxidant protection. Here, vitamin B3 helps to recharge the batteries of the tired optic nerve cells, helping to keep them alive and functioning even when under pressure. Vitamin D and folate are critical for cell repair, helping your optic nerve cells to recover even when under stress. And you also need antioxidant protection against oxidative damage, against free radical damage. And here I'm not talking about like general antioxidants like vitamin C or vitamin E. I'm talking about more high impact, more precise antioxidants that can work at a deeper level to protect your optic nerve cells. I'm talking about things like proanthocyanins from grapeseed and anthocyanins from bilberry. Is vascular or providing circulatory support. Ginkgo biloba and bilberry stand out in this area. Both have been shown to be able to improve blood flow to the vision system by up to 23%. And more importantly, Clinical studies have also suggested that taking these could potentially help to reduce visual field loss in normal tension glaucoma patients. And finally, the fourth core area is to support the function of the optic nerve. And for that, you can take folate and vitamin B12. So back to the question of what vitamins and supplements should you be taking for glaucoma? So the answer depends on which core area you want to support. So if you want to support the pressure and stress aspect, then saffron would be an ideal choice. If you wanted to support the circulatory aspect, then ginkgo biloba and bilberry would be an ideal choice. But if you want everything support across all four core areas, then you may have to consider taking what I call the glaucoma vitamin stack. Because with this, you cover everything in accordance to the NP10 system. And the fact is that neuroprotection at this level of depth and specificity could be really important for some, but it's not covered in standard glaucoma care. And that is what I call the neuroprotection gap. And this is why the fifth key pillar of proactive glaucoma care is to fill in the neuroprotection gap. So back to my dad. So this is what I got him to do. So he goes to the gym fairly regularly, but his exercises are more for strength training to try and maintain his muscle mass. And I wanted him to do more aerobic exercise. So I encouraged him to take the stairs more often rather than to take the elevator or to take the escalator. So I checked in with him a few months after, and he was saying that, yeah, he's taking the stairs every day when he goes to the gym on the fifth floor. So to put things in context, he lives in this apartment complex that's like 29, has 29 floors. And he actually lives on the 27th floor. So he's been going to the gym every day, taking 22 flights of stairs up and down when he goes to the gym. I mean, that was just totally remarkable. And at this rate, he's going to be way, way, way fitter than I'm ever going to be. He also meditates regularly, and that's because he's a practicing Buddhist. So I've asked him to keep going with that. He is a big fan of early to bed and early to rise, and he gets around 7 to 8 hours of sleep every night, which is excellent. I'm so glad I managed to put him off getting that Netflix subscription. And for someone who lives in Malaysia, he's doing surprisingly well with his diet. In fact, he's also started practicing intermittent fasting, where he will only eat during an 8-hour window during the day, and the other 16 he would be fasting and only drinking water or black coffee. And of course, I also got him to take the glaucoma vitamin stack so that he would cover any neuroprotection gap as per the NP10 system. Essentially, I got him to practice proactive glaucoma care, where on top of using his prescribed treatments, he will also focus on physical activity, stress management, sleep, nutrition, and neuroprotection. And it was then, finally, that I truly felt that we have been able to look after his long-term vision very comprehensively in a holistic way, on top of just reducing his eye pressure with his treatments. And that reassured me greatly and also reassured him greatly. Remember this visual field that I showed you right at the start? That was his visual field back then. Now, this is his latest visual field test, and it shows an area of increased sensitivity just above the center, highlighted in red. This indicates that his eye is seeing more detail in that particular region, potentially indicating that he may have regained some lost function in that test location. Now, I don't have to be a mind reader like Professor X or Darren Brown to know what it is that you're going to want to ask me next. So what you're going to want to ask me next is this. But Brian, I thought glaucoma is irreversible, isn't it? And the answer is yes. Glaucoma is definitely irreversible, especially when the cells are dead. But the thing is this, the optic nerve isn't just one structure. There are hundreds and thousands of smaller retinal ganglion cells. And these retinal ganglion cells are in varying states of health. You've got healthy cells, sick cells, and dead cells. Now, obviously, the dead cells you can't do anything about. You can't regenerate them, you can't clone them, you can't regrow them. But the sick cells, that's a different story altogether. Because if you can feed these cells, nourish these cells, provide a supportive metabolic environment, then they could grow healthier. And as they grow healthier and stronger, then they could regain back some of their function and potentially helping you to regain some lost function. I'm seeing more of this in my own clinic patients as well. So here's an example. This is a 67-year-old lecturer, and she has got long-standing poor vision in her left eye because of lazy eye. So her right eye is the better eye, but as you can see on this visual field test, she's also got advanced glaucoma, and she only has a VFI of 50%. And the VFI is the visual field index. It's an estimate of how much peripheral vision she's got. She's only got 50% of her peripheral vision. So she's already had cataract surgery and stent implantation, and that's helping to keep her pressures really well controlled between 10 to 12 millimeters mercury. So that's excellent. But because her right eye is her only eye, and she's going to have to rely on it for the next 10 to 15 years, I asked her to practice proactive glaucoma care. And this was her visual field test 6 months later. Her VFI had improved from 50% to 54%, and the area that she may have regained some lost function is highlighted in red. Here's another example. This is a 54-year-old public servant who has normal tension glaucoma. She's on a prostaglandin eye drop, and that's keeping the pressure in the low teens between 10 to 14. For her, although her VFI is 83%, so that's pretty good, but for her, she's highly anxious. And it's really, really important that she knows she's doing everything possible to support her eyes. And so that's why I recommended proactive glaucoma care for her. And 13 months later, her VFI had increased to 87%. And the area where she may have regained some loss function is again highlighted in red. Now, at this point, I have a pretty big disclaimer, okay? My disclaimer is this. These are case examples only. And they are there to show, to illustrate the potential benefits of proactive glaucoma care. It does not constitute randomized clinical trial evidence. It does not constitute treatment recommendation, and it certainly does not replace your prescribed treatments. So just because you practice proactive glaucoma care, or you take the glaucoma vitamin stack, or you follow NP10, it doesn't mean that you're definitely going to get ongoing improvements in your visual feel that you're just going to regain back everything you've lost. So not the case at all. And that's because glaucoma is a progressive disease. And by progressive disease, I mean it's a condition that's going to progress, it's going to continue to get worse, regardless of what you do. So the whole aim of treatment is always stabilization. We want to stabilize glaucoma, we want to slow it right down because we want you to be able to maintain useful vision for the rest of your life so that you can read, drive, stay independent, and do the things that you really enjoy doing. And your best chance, your best shot at achieving this is by combining your prescribed treatments with a proactive, holistic approach that looks after the entire system. And that's why proactive glaucoma care matters. I thought I'd end this presentation with a fun fact. So my kids love fun facts. Actually, they love twisting my brain with fun facts. So we all know that scorpions are usually black in color. That's the most common, most obvious color. But did you know that when you shine UV light on a black scorpion, it turns from black in color to a bright blue-green glow? Well, I certainly didn't know that. It wasn't obvious to me. And to be fair, you wouldn't really notice it unless you knew where to look. And the reason I'm telling you this is because glaucoma management is a little bit like that. We tend to focus a lot on the obvious, which is eye pressure, which is the black color part. But there are also other layers deeper underneath. And these include things like circulation, stress, and cell resilience. These are also important, and that's the blue-green part. So if you want to achieve the best outcomes, we want to reduce glaucoma risk as much as possible, then we should really combine the black and the blue-green. Because losing vision from glaucoma is way scarier than a glowing scorpion in the dark. And finally, before we wrap up, I'd like to leave Glaucoma UK members with a small gift. As a thank you for spending 30 minutes of your valuable time with me this evening. I know we've covered a lot of ground. There's a lot to take in. Some of what we've discussed may seem unconventional and certainly not what you might be used to hearing from your eye specialist. And that's okay, because these approaches are not part of standard glaucoma care yet. And this is why I'm offering complimentary access to my ebook, Proactive Glaucoma Care, which covers everything that we've discussed today in greater detail, including the NP10 system. So if you found tonight's talk helpful and you want to learn more, then please scan this QR code. This book normally retails for $20, but it will be free for Glaucoma UK members for the next 3 days. So at checkout, please enter the promo code GUK25 for Glaucoma UK 25 so that you're able to download your free e-copy. It's a really good way of keeping the momentum going after this evening's session. Right. If after all of this, your optic nerves are still firing, let's get on to questions. Take a deep breath. Let's get on to questions.
Right. Well, you take a deep breath, Brian.
Yeah.
I'm just going to let people know Brian has graciously said he will stay on beyond 8 o'clock our time. So if you're happy to stay on, everybody, we'll work to about 8:15. So please, we want to make sure we get through as many questions as possible. Brian, if you want to unshare your screen, and we'll
Yes.
go through the questions.
Oh,
Okay.
I also forgot to say, alternatively, if you wanted, I'm very happy to field any questions. Please shoot me an email on the email address below, or you can check out my website or even follow me on Instagram. All right,
Brilliant.
I'll unshare now.
Thank you, Brian. Okay, so what I've taken away from your presentation was very much you're focusing on a holistic approach to your looking after your eyes. So a lot of the questions have come through, you kind of touched upon, but I wanted to kind of go into some detail because there's a lot of people asking about supplements is the big one. So there's
Yes.
two here around supplements. So one is asked, how much of each supplement should we take? So that's one of the questions.
Yes. That's gonna be
How long
uh
is a piece of string? You really couldn't.
yeah,
Mhm,
correct.
mhm, mhm.
So I well, based on the research that I've done, um you probably should try and go as low as possible
Mhm.
because you're going to take these for a long term. So don't go to the highest dose that's available. Because if it's a long-term thing, you don't want to overload your system. I don't know how to explain the dose without making it too technical.
Yep,
Maybe could we park it and then I will write down a list and then you can distribute it to Glaucoma UK members with a list of what I think the dosages should be.
fantastic.
Would
Yeah,
that be yeah, yeah.
yeah. Because there've been a few questions about what, the actual, as you say, what dosage people
Yes,
should be going for. So yeah, so
yes,
thank you for offering to do that. So anybody who's
yes.
asked that question, we will answer. Okay,
Yeah,
we'll come back to you.
and just a disclaimer, this is just what I feel is the most appropriate dose. It's not a consensus. It's not treatment recommendation. So please make sure you discuss this with your treating eye specialist first before you start on any supplements.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, so let's go back. So there's loads about exercise. So let's talk about lifestyle in relation to
Mm.
food and drink. So people have asked about caffeine and bananas. So
Yeah,
are they good or bad?
caffeine, don't take more than 2 cups a day.
Okay,
Mm.
okay.
Bananas, I think quite good. So just keep eating your bananas.
Good. Yeah. Brilliant. Okay. So a lot of people are asking about flying. There's been a few questions about flying.
Mm.
So
No
is there
problem.
a relationship between intraocular pressure and flying?
Yeah, I would say don't worry too much. Just fly. It's fine.
Okay, brilliant. Um, okay. There was also another one about swimming because I thought a lot of people are very
Mm.
interested in sports. So let me find the one on
Mm.
swimming and sleeping. So you talked about sleeping. So does the position we sleep in affect IOPs and glaucoma adversely? And you touched upon that in your presentation. Yes?
Yes, yes. So, I mean, when you lie supine, then yes, the eye pressure will go up a bit. But this is what your treatments are there to do to help to reduce your eye pressure, right? So, what your treatments can't do is to help you get a deep sleep. So what I really want you to focus on is getting good quality sleep. I think that's more important than the small increase in pressure that you might get when you're sleeping. One thing though is that if you have really sort of worse glaucoma damage in on one side, then try not to sleep on that side. You don't want to accidentally be pressing on your eye. So maybe sleep on the other side if the glaucoma is worse in one eye. If they're kind of around equal, then you just make sure that you
Great.
turn left to right equally.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Brilliant. That's good. The one about swimming I found. So this
Yeah.
person has had bilateral trabeculectomies and they want to know is it okay to swim in chlorinated or seawater? And should
Mm.
they wear goggles? What are goggles? Are they okay to use?
Yeah. So that's a really good question. From my perspective, I normally tell patients if they've had a trabeculectomy operation or any eye operation within the first maybe couple of months, better not to swim. And if you have had a trabeculectomy, I would say please make sure you wear goggles because your trabeculectomy bleb, we don't know what how it looks like. We just don't want the chlorinated water to irritate the trabeculectomy bleb, and that could potentially, have an impact on its function.
Yep.
So when you go swimming, just wear swimming goggles. And if you're going to wear swimming goggles, make sure you wear large swimming goggles. You don't want tight-fitting ones because that can elevate your eye pressure.
That's good. That's what they're asking about the
Mm.
suction ones. Yeah, the ones that are be quite
Yeah.
small. Somebody's
Mm.
asked about flying. So somebody's asked, does air flight increase eye pressure? While flying, should we close our eyes and not read?
Yeah, I don't think flying has a big impact on pressure. So please just go ahead and read or do whatever it is you want to do.
Okay, so you got loads about sleeping. Diet, which you've talked about, but this one person has asked, does diet affect normal tension glaucoma?
So yeah, I touched on that. So
Mhm.
people who eat a unhealthy diet, then their risk of glaucoma of any sort increases. So you really want to focus on eating the healthy foods, and you know what the healthy foods
Mhm.
are. Mm.
Yeah.
I don't
There's
know
a
if
lot
that
of questions.
answers the question. Yeah.
Sorry, a lot of questions about racket sports, like
Yeah.
tennis racket, tennis,
Yeah.
and there's a sport we play over here called pickle. Is it pickle?
Pickleball.
Yeah. Any thoughts on people should avoid that or any
No,
limitations?
no, I would say just please go ahead and play them. Um, and aerobic activity is good. Like I was saying,
Mhm.
it's the first key pillar of proactive glaucoma care. It helps to support circulation. So again, the thing applies that if you're going to be exerting yourself, just make sure you exhale, you
Yes.
as you hit the ball. And that way there's not a valve effect. You're not building up intrathoracic pressure in your body.
Yeah, you said that about if anybody's doing those strength-based weight training, make
Yes,
sure you exhale. It's really
yes,
crucial, isn't it? Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So somebody's asked about Tai Chi. Is Tai Chi a good form of exercise and of course relaxation?
Very good form of
Yeah.
exercise. So do it, definitely. Very good.
Yeah. Okay. This one here, they haven't said, and I know this myself, is it okay to use decongestant sprays and antihistamines? It really depends on the type of glaucoma, doesn't it, Brian?
Yes, so there's a concern that it may, well, there are two types of decongestion. So you've got the antihistamine ones, and those ones they worry that it could dilate the pupil and make people with narrow angles go into
Yeah.
acute angle closure. So if you've got open angle glaucoma, then please don't stress about it. You can just go ahead and use it.
Mhm.
There are other decongestions that may be steroid-based. Now, steroid-based ones, because steroids can elevate eye pressure, so steroid-based decongestions are probably, well, they're not good for any kind of glaucoma because that can cause the eye pressure to go up, even though you're squirting it into the nose.
Yeah, fantastic. This is a very good one. I know we've just gone through the summer, well, depending where you are in the world. If I'm traveling somewhere where there'll be a big time difference, like where you are, how
Yeah.
should they administer their eye drops?
So the main thing is to be consistent and regular. So if you normally put it in at 10 o'clock at night, then just put it in at 10 o'clock at night wherever you are in the world.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just keep it simple.
You mentioned about your own father doing intermittent fasting. So
Yes.
somebody's asked here, would you please explain how does this help? Any thoughts on that, Brian?
So how it helps him is that he's not overeating. So he's just eating what he needs for his body at his age. So that's how it helps. And by him not eating 3 meals a day, so he's only eating 2 meals a day, it means that he's consuming less carbohydrates and less sugars in his diet.
Understand. Yes,
Mm.
healthy lifestyle, yes.
Yes.
Somebody's put a very specific question here, so I'll read it to you, Brian, but if you feel you can't answer, that's fine. So regarding exercise, my heart rate can sit between 170 to 180 beats per minute for approximately 30 to 40 minutes. Is this detrimental to eye pressure for this length of time?
No.
Nope.
As long as you follow the main principles, which is whenever you're exerting, you exhale. But generally, if your heart is pumping at that rate, it means it's really working hard to help with the circulation. So that's just only a good thing.
Yeah. There was a few questions I remember about this. There's two questions about this. So people, if they have blepharitis or dry eyes, would be using, the heated masks.
Yes.
Any thoughts on them? Are they good or bad for your eye pressure?
So heated masks can be helpful for blepharitis and dry eyes, and I have no issues with using them.
Mhm.
Um, the only thing is just make sure when you're putting them on that you don't feel like it's pressing on your eyes. So as long as you're not pressing on your eyes, as long as they're only pressing on your orbit, your forehead and your cheekbones, then that's fine. Go ahead.
Fantastic. Brilliant. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's a very interesting. We haven't looked at this one. So lifestyle, just doing tasks in the home. I'm always worried about prolonged bending to do chores, such as example, washing the floor or gardening. So should people be avoiding them or reducing them? What would your advice be,
Well,
Brian?
when you're bending, you should really be bending your knees and not your back.
Yeah, yeah.
So as long as whatever you're doing doesn't have your head go below your heart, then it's not going to elevate your eye pressure. So things like when you do yoga and you do a downward dog pose, your head's going to be below your heart. So that can elevate your eye pressure. But if you're just squatting down or you're sitting on a small stool doing gardening,
Mhm.
that's perfectly fine.
Yeah. So your posture is a lot to answer for. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
There's two on sport. One person has asked, is scuba diving a risk?
So scuba diving can be a risk if you are downward swimming a lot of the time. But if you're mainly sort of just horizontal
Mm-hmm.
swimming, then I think that should be okay because it's again a form of exercise too, scuba diving. Mm.
Yeah.
So I don't I hate to sort of be like a party pooper and tell people, oh, you can't do this and you can't do that. So it's really about making sure you do things in moderation and
Yeah.
don't overdo things. Mm.
Yeah. You touched upon the yoga. So again, somebody's
Mm.
asked, this is a very common question. Should we avoid, example, downward dog entirely or just prolonged and frequent?
So, like, I'm not a yoga expert, but if I understand correctly, there are ways that you can adjust the downward dog pose so that your head is not downward. Like you can put your hand on a desk and you can stretch it that way because the whole principle is that pose, that stretch. And you can, if you are able to do it in a way without putting your head downwards, then that's good. And I'm sure you can do it that way.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you. So, very interesting one about instruments. So, playing woodwind or brass instruments, should they be
Yeah.
avoided, Brian?
So when you are playing wind instruments, there are two types. There's one that requires more force when you blow it, and ones that are less. So the ones that you have to exert more force when you blow, that can elevate eye pressure. And a study has found that people who play those kind of wind instruments actually have an increased risk of glaucoma.
Oh,
So, mm, so well, I guess it depends on how bad your glaucoma is. So if you've got well, very mild glaucoma, then yes, I don't think that would be a major issue. But if you've got advanced glaucoma loss, then and you're playing the trumpet, for example, then you may have to consider switching to a different uh, wind instrument like, I don't know, the flute or something like that.
okay. Okay. Brilliant. Thank you. Somebody's asked here about, so back to sleeping again. Can I wear an eye mask to sleep in?
So same kind of answer
Yeah.
applies as long
No.
as it's not pressing on your eyeball, that is
Yeah.
just around the orbit and your cheekbone, then that's perfectly fine. Because the key thing is we want to make sure you get good sleep. And if the eye mask helps you to achieve that, then yes.
Yeah. Somebody's asked again, it probably goes without saying, Sunglasses, should we always use them to protect our eyes?
Yes, but not from a glaucoma perspective. It's more for the lens and your macula, your retina
Yes.
perspective. But yes, it's a good thing to do.
Yeah. So I'm just looking at advice here about so when they bathe their eyes, when they have dry eyes, they've been advised to press around the eye to unblock the gland. Is this a good idea? This person's asking.
So what you're talking about is where someone has blocked meibomian glands on
Yeah,
your eyelid, and when you are expressing, it just helps to unclog the glands and just lets the oils from the meibomian glands come out. And the for me, when you do this massage on your lid, you should be doing a downward movement. You're not pressing into the eyeball. So you're pressing downwards. So if you're massaging it downwards or upwards, if you're talking about the lower lid, then that motion is okay because you're not pressing like really hard. So yes, by all means, you can go ahead and do it. It probably will be more effective if you heat up your eyelids prior. So that way, the oily secretions are more loose and they're easy to express. So that way, you don't have to press so hard when you do the massage.
that's good to know. Getting back to exercise, somebody's asked, are press ups, planks, etc. okay? And what about singing?
Yes, press ups and planks are okay. Remember, make sure
Breathing.
you exhale. Don't just hold the breath in. So with press ups, when you are pushing, you want to exhale. With singing, yeah, fine, no problem with singing.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, I'm just another 10 more minutes and we're going to start to wind up. So I'm going to go back to ones. Some people have asked questions, maybe aren't around lifestyle. So I'm focusing on lifestyle. So if anybody's asked things about lifestyle, I'm giving preference to lifestyle ones. Okay. Let me see. Again, that's not live. There's so many here, just making sure I'm focusing on lifestyle because I'm noticing there's a lot about the supplements. So I think potentially in the future, we'll be doing a DGSG webinar on supplements. Okay. Okay. This is a good one. I have advanced normal pressure glaucoma and all interventions, so they've had drops, SLT, MIGS, trabeculectomy, have had little impact. They exercise daily. Is it too late for me to improve my situation?
So can you repeat the second last
Yeah.
sentence?
So I have had little impact. They exercise daily. Is it too late for me to improve my situation?
Um, that's
Again, that's
without really knowing the situation,
a
it's really hard to know what you mean by your situation. And it also depends on what you mean by the interventions have had little impact. Because if by that you're saying that the eye pressure is not low enough, then um, that might mean you just need more intervention for that. Because when you've got progressing normal tension glaucoma, it means that firstly, maybe your eye pressure is not low enough, but also it could mean the other aspects of your um, eye health, your optic nerve health, need to be addressed. Like I was talking about the four core areas of neuroprotection. It could be the circulation part, it could be the stress part, it could be the cellular health part. So those are the things, areas that you need to focus on. Now, if you do focus on that, does it mean can it help you? Well, I think it will help to strengthen your cells and make your optic nerve more resilient. Will it improve things? Well, I I'm gonna say no because we really what we want to achieve is stabilization.
Yeah, brilliant.
Mm.
Thank you. I know it's quite a complicated one, Brian, but thank you
Yes,
for kind of
yes.
answering that. Somebody's asked, I think I've asked this already, but is there an issue about being at altitude if you have glaucoma? So climbing mountains or that?
So I would say that would come in the form of oxygenation because the higher up you are, the less oxygen you
Mhm.
get. So if you're going to climb mountains, you got to make sure that you are well acclimatized so that your body can continue to deliver the circulation and oxygen and nutrients needed to keep up with the metabolic demands of your vision system.
Okay, brilliant. This is a good one they've mentioned because I know this is something we talk about all the time when we do
Mm,
webinars. So this person uses bimatoprost eye drops. The instructions don't mention pressing the corner of the eye, so the
mm,
punctal occlusion,
mm.
but I've read elsewhere that you should do this for them to work properly. Again, I'm sure you're going to say you encourage people to do that, Brian. Yes?
Yeah, so the theory behind that is that when you press on the punctum, it means that the drops don't track into the nose, into the back of your throat,
Yeah.
so that most of it stays in the eye. Personally speaking, if you can do it, great. But if you find it hard for whatever reason to do, then what you can do is once you put the drops in, then just keep your eyes closed for about a minute. Don't have to press the corner, but just keep your eyes closed. It's the
Mhm.
blinking that encourages the drainage of the eye drop through the tear ducts into the nose. So if you put the drops in, we are tempted to just do this all the time. So instead of doing that, just put the drops in, just close your eyes and like for a minute. I think that should suffice.
Yeah. Either or, as long as you're doing one of
Yeah,
the two. Yeah.
yeah,
Brilliant.
yeah.
Yeah. Somebody's mentioned here in relation to whether it's safe to take ginkgo and vitamin B3 when they often get retinal bleeds. Do you know if they're safe to take?
So it depends on what the causes of the retinal bleeds. So if you're someone who's got diabetes, for example, then you already you're more prone to bleeds in the retina. So I'd say that it would be safe because I know there's always this concern with bleeding from ginkgo, and that's largely based on a few case reports. There have now been lots of larger randomized clinical trials and meta-analysis that show that ginkgo biloba increase it does not increase the risk of bleeding. And even in people who are already taking warfarin, um, that doesn't interfere with their INR or clotting levels. So I would say that it would be safe. I do recommend that to my patients.
Hmm.
Um, the nicotinamide, definitely, I don't think there's any risk of bleeding.
Okay.
So if you've got retinal hemorrhages, you may wish to discuss this with your retinal specialist and
Mhm.
ask them if it's safe for you to take the ginkgo biloba.
Brilliant. You
Mm.
mentioned during your talk about saffron. So somebody's
Mm.
asked, can you get saffron in tablet form?
Yes, yes. So
Yeah.
what I talked about with regards to the glaucoma vitamin stack, all of those ingredients you can get in a supplement form because those are things that are not so easy to obtain from food.
Okay.
Mm.
Brian, a few people have asked for the QR code. So could you, you want to share your presentation and put it up again? So somebody's asked for it because the QR code hasn't
It's
come
not
up
working.
right. Yeah.
Oh no,
Just
I gotta test it. Hang on.
so Brian's just checking if it works okay for him.
Yeah, it's working okay. Which part is not
Yeah.
working?
So will you put it back up on the screen so people can scan it again just to make sure,
Yeah, hang on a minute.
please?
Uh,
There, sorry, some people have said it's worked okay. So that person may try again. So the one who's having the issue. Yeah. So there are a few people have said it's worked for them.
Okay. Phew,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah. That's okay. Yeah. It was just the one person had said it wasn't, so I didn't want them to miss out on the
yeah, yeah,
opportunity
yeah.
of it.
That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just for our last final questions here. Somebody has asked about where was I was going to go down. Yeah. So there's a lot of focus on supplements. So how can you be sure vitamins like
Nicotine.
nicotinamide you can buy online are sold by reputable sellers and contain the amount of vitamin advertised? Is there any guidance you can give people?
That's a good question. So
Mhm.
I think reputation, you just have to buy from a reputable company. I think that's just what it is. A lot of my patients ask me too, can I buy from this brand or that brand? And I normally say yes, because that's a particularly strong brand that has a good international reputation. So please go ahead. And in Australia, anyway, the regulations are that you have to be specific about the dose of the ingredients that you're putting in the supplement. You can't sort of say, oh, this is a proprietary blend that contains vitamins D, B3, B12, and you don't give the specific dose of each ingredient. I'm not sure what the rules are in the
UK.
UK.
Mm,
So you got to make sure that when you buy the supplement that they are very specific in listing every single ingredient and the dosages
mhm.
is that's on the label. And I know this because I've looked at a lot of supplements in Australia.
You've done your research. So the last
Mm.
question, a few people have asked this. How do I buy the glaucoma stack?
Uh, there are two ways of doing it. So the first is you can buy them individually. The second way is you gotta do your own research. There are supplements available online that have got all of them in there. Um, if you're interested, please flick me an email and I will send you some names.
Yeah. So Brian's got his
That's
email
probably
address there on
better.
the screen. So yes, if you want to email Brian directly, he'll
Yeah,
let you know. Fantastic.
yeah,
So Brian, if you just want to unshare your screen, we're going to finish up now and I'm going to
yeah.
share the last of the presentation. That, again, we could went on for another hour. Brian, no problem. Fantastic. Thank you so much for covering such a wealth of information there. I'm just going to move forward on my presentation here. So everybody, again, if all the questions, some questions haven't been asked, as I said at the start, we're focusing totally on lifestyle. But if there's any other questions you have and we haven't answered them tonight, please contact our helpline and they'll do their best to answer your question. So our next DGSG or webinar is in October and it's on driving and glaucoma. So just before I kind of show you the last poll, just a reminder that your circumstances are unique to you. And as Brian talked about, he was given some very basic information from some people, so it was hard to make a call. So if you're thinking of making any lifestyle or medical changes as a result of this webinar, please speak to your eye specialist first. Glaucoma UK and the speakers are not responsible for any action you might take as a result of the information you learned through this webinar. If you have any other questions you would like to ask, again, go direct to our helpline. Okay, so the last slide I'm going to show you, but I'm going to actually launch the poll. So as I launch the poll, so hopefully from tonight's session, we have made a difference in your knowledge of lifestyle and glaucoma. So I want to make sure I'm actually sharing the right poll. So again, it's one question. And hopefully we, as I said, we have enhanced your understanding. I know I've learned so much. I was busy taking notes, Brian, to refer back to. Yeah. So as the poll is launched on the screen there, we in Glaucoma UK, I beg your pardon, I was reading the slide, have an Excellence in Glaucoma Care Award. So again, it's your chance to nominate somebody within the hospitals that you attend, the clinics you attend, who's provided you with a really high standard care. You can scan this QR code, or also I can also put the form into the actual chat, and I'll do that now shortly. So the form you can click on and submit who you would like to propose to win the award. After tomorrow, we will receive a survey, and this will kind of give you some chance to give feedback on tonight's session. Again, it's been a very popular one, so if it's something we can do to improve going forward, this is your chance to let us know. So hopefully we will see you again at the next one in October. And again, grateful thanks to Brian for being here at such an ungodly hour in Melbourne. I hope you get a chance to catch up on some sleep, Brian, at some point before your day starts again. And I'm going to put in the chat here. So this is the link for anybody who doesn't use a QR code. This is the link to propose somebody for the excellence in care for glaucoma. Again, if you want to use that option, you can, or if you want to use the QR code. Thank you all so much. Again, have a lovely evening. Thank you very much, Brian. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.